Harry, hi Gord, Chad, and Lisa, and all right, we started the recording. Good morning, everybody. This is the Saturday service. There's me, and I am joined by a group of people live. I'll get to their picture in a moment. Um, Let me welcome you to Religion Outside the Box. This is a different way of doing religion. It is polydoxical, which poly, many, dox, belief. There's many different beliefs. The same way there are many different ways to get up a mountain. You don't only start in one place. This is a religion outside the box. We're going to have a spiritual-religiously moving experience today, or at least I am. And I'm assuming if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, that you're here to be moved as well. I'm going to say hello. There we go. There's a little extra noise coming from. I just got it. Okay. And I said I would say hi to my friends here. Go ahead. Everybody wave to the people at home. Say hi. Say hi to each other. Good morning. Glad you're here. All right. Hi. Using
Hi.
your screen. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to see you. Using your screen as a barometer. If I asked you to name things you are proud of, how many of you could just go straight to the top and say, I could get three things I'm proud of right off the top? And how many of you would be a little bit more struggly? So just do it visually on your screen. Okay. Now you have a hand that you haven't already used. So I'm going to ask you to do this. So keep your hand at the level of, here are things that I could be proud of, and then put your hand on a level of, yeah, totally got that one, no problem, going all the way down to that one's really hard. The other hand goes to things I could say I'm afraid of. All right, so put your hands down for a second so everyone can see what's going on. Let's try this game again. First hand's going up to number of things I could say that I'm proud of, and then number of things that I could say that I'm scared of. What did you notice? What did you notice? Talk to me.
More afraid than I'm proud.
Right? For you, it was easier to access things that I'm scared of than things that I'm proud of. I wonder what would have happened if I did things that we're thankful for. But give me some other reactions. Some other reactions to this story.
I had the opposite. I was more proud than fearful.
Okay. Other people I see are having a similar experience.
Matched. I had the interesting experience of I recently did multiple things I'm proud of, so it was really easy to remember what they were. They were yesterday, but also things scared me yesterday.
Yeah. I want us to talk some about fear today. There are reasons to be afraid, but I want to start with Bob. You were telling a story before we got started here. Would you tell us that story again, please?
Yeah, we were discussing airplane instructions, and that when my children were younger, we were flying down to San Antonio, and my oldest son was sitting next to the window, the escape window, and all of a sudden he was playing with the controls, and I was very scared that all of a sudden the window would pop out and he would go missing. And so when I talked to the flight attendant, she explained to me that the windows had to be pulled in, and then it took away my fear.
So that if it were in, there was nothing to be afraid of because he was pushing out, not pulling in.
Right.
Okay. And so learning something, knowing,
probably with the pressurization of the cabin, that the window would be somewhat forced out anyhow.
Right. Okay.
if it could move.
How many others have an experience that knowledge helps you to be less afraid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have an example you can share of that? That knowing once I knew that I wasn't afraid. I have one. Bats. The number of bats that have attacked human beings in the last 1,000 recorded years is they don't. Bats don't want to touch people unless they're trapped in a corner in a cage in a thing. Then they're fighting for their life. But bats avoid people. Boy, am I not scared of being bitten by a bat anymore. Just, I'm not as scared. I know more. Does knowledge always keep us from being scared, or can it be the opposite? And I'm going to, spoiler alert, I think it's the opposite too. Being more knowledgeable can also make us more afraid. Let me hear about that for a second. Being more knowledgeable can make us sometimes more afraid.
In the early phases of COVID, at first we didn't think it was anything to worry about, and then we were hearing about people dying, and we got more and more afraid.
And the more we knew, the more we got afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jenny.
Climate change.
The more
The
we
more
know.
I learn about climate change, the more freaked out I am.
Yeah. Michael?
The more I learn about myself and face myself, I think the more frightened I am sometimes.
You're turning the thing in. The more I know about who I am.
Yeah.
Can you also feel the other one's true too? That the more I know, the less afraid I am.
Yeah.
It's that one's a both.
Both. Of course. Yeah, it's a both. Yeah.
Yeah, Carol.
When my children were little, we had a house in New Hampshire, and they ran down the stairs from the attic, and they said, "There's a bat in the attic." I said, "Oh, Patrick, did you say good morning to him?" And then they went back upstairs and met Patrick.
Not anything to. Once you know, there's reason not to be afraid. Go ahead, John.
I hear the word fear, and I'm attempting to equate concern, scared. Fear to me sounds a little bit immobilizing. Like, can we quantify fear or differentiate it from a concern? I too am concerned about the environment. Am I afraid? That's a bit of a stretch. I'm afraid I'm one of those who's gotten to the point that the earth will be just fine if we annihilate ourselves, and the earth
You're making a good point. You're making
on very well.
Good point, John, which is that there are levels of fear. There's levels of this thing. There's cautious, which is a lot less than paralyzed with fear. We have a phrase, paralyzed with fear. I mean, it's scary. I'm gonna bring this. We got some quotes ahead of time.
Yep.
My little side note I think is really amusing is that the internet can't decide if the top right quote is a Chinese proverb or said by Martin Luther, and I just that's a wide stretch. That the birds of worry and care fly over you. It should say your head. That's my typo. That the birds of worry and care fly over your head, this you cannot change. But that they build nests in your hair, this you can prevent. That the birds of worry and care fly over your head, this you cannot change. But that they build nests in your hair, this you can prevent. Boy, do I find that comforting. I find that so comforting. Why do I find that comforting? Now, that's really kind of a stupid question for me to ask you. So, why might you find that comforting? What does that mean? That the birds of worry and care fly over your head, this you cannot change, but that they make a nest in your hair, this you can prevent. Why is that
Is that by
comforting?
shaving off your hair?
No, thank you, Bob.
You have choices.
Yeah, you have choices.
You can't stop fear,
No.
but you can diminish it some.
Can stop it from taking over.
You can
Yeah.
stop it from taking over. And sometimes that's the best we can do. That's enough. There's a quote, Maria, I don't know what I did with it.
Sorry, Rabbi, can I ask you to take down the grid?
Yeah. Thank you for
Thank you.
asking, Anne. Hold on.
Which,
I'm working it.
yeah, thank you.
Please
Okay.
hold. There it is. Did that show up on my screen?
What? No.
There it is. This is a quote from Hafiz. It says this: "Fear is the cheapest room in the house, and I would like to see you living in better conditions." I'm going to repeat that first part and then just read. "Fear is the cheapest room in the house. I would like to see you living in better conditions. For your mother and my mother were friends. I know the innkeeper in this part of the universe. Get some rest tonight. Come to my verse tomorrow. We will speak to the friend together. I should not make any promises right now, but know if you pray somewhere in this world, something good will happen. God wants to see more love and playfulness in your eyes, for that is your greatest witness to God." Isn't that beautiful? Fear is the cheapest room in the house, and I would like to see you living in better conditions, for your mother and my mother were friends. I know the innkeeper in this part of the universe. Get some rest tonight. Come to my verse tomorrow. We'll go speak to the friend together. I should not make any promises right now, but know if you pray, somewhere in this world something good will happen. God wants to see more love and playfulness in your eyes, for that is your greatest witness to God.
Yes, it is.
Can we get
Who's
more?
the friend? Who's the friend he's talking about?
I'll give you a hint. It's capital F.
Oh, fear?
The innkeeper.
The innkeeper, the friend,
It's God.
the beloved. I think he's talking about God. But he doesn't want us to get bogged down in...
Yeah.
Fear is the cheapest room in the house. I would like to see you living in better conditions. Isn't that a beautiful thing to hear someone say to you?
Yeah.
Fear is the cheapest room in the house. Yes?
Yes.
And I would like to see you living in better conditions. For your
That's very-
mother and my mother were friends.
That's interesting.
So I don't think we have the ability to not fear, like the bird quote said.
Mhm.
But we can take up a better room in the house. Go ahead, Bob, and then Michael. And then I'm going to
Good.
ask for new voices. Go ahead, Bob, Michael.
Well, I think fear can sometimes be a motivator that just as a simple, if I see something that might cause injury and I have a fear about that, that motivates me to do something to prevent it.
Correct. Go ahead. Hold on one sec, and then I'll have Michael. That was here in the bottom right corner of here it says behavioralists. Except for loud noises and falling, all other fears are learned. Fear prepares us to take action. That's what a behavioralist says. Why do we have fear? We have fear to protect us, to help us take action. Go ahead, Michael.
I want to get back to that one later, but not me. But just interested in the Hafiz quote.
Yeah.
Introduces relationship right away with the problem of fear. And I think that's very comforting and true. That regardless of, fear is engendered by guilt, or fear comes to be because of anger. It obviously increases when you're locked in the same mindset and you can't get out yourself. So relationship is so critical in managing anger and fear. I think they kind of live together. But thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah.
I love this quote. I just love that Hafiz quote. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Bob, for your thoughts on it. I'm feeling cis white patriarchy in the voices that I'm hearing. And I'm just like, it's weird. Why are we hearing from older white men? My beard's getting grayer and grayer. just a thing. Lee, I'm gonna prioritize you.
I'm honored. Cis white, sorry. Can't be helped.
Go right ahead.
But as I get older, fear has been more of a motivating factor to improve.
Right.
When I was younger, it was not. I would deny it was happening. I had all kinds of, behavioral characteristics we're all guilty of. But as I get older, fear has become more of a motivating factor to try to change it. I mean, everybody knows who's been on this, that knows me. Fear actually was a factor for me to seek out what the hell was wrong with me 5 years ago, when I was finally diagnosed being on the spectrum. Fear of persisting and being told that I'm not good enough, or it's a behavioral problem, or what have you. And so, I'm hoping that a lot of people are in the same boat that I am, autistic or not, I don't care. It's just more of it's a motivating factor.
That's
what I feel. Exactly. What I feel bad for are the cis white that don't understand that this fear being a motivating factor actually motivates people of color a lot earlier, and it has to.
Well, thank you, Lee. Hold on a sec. I want to try in a different angle here. And also, let me echo something that you said that I think was perfectly on spot. When we are younger, I think by and large we try to get rid of fear, which we can't do. And getting older, a little wiser, is to know that we can't. Hold on. Here's a thought about how we might be able to get rid of some fear. This quote is from the book of John. I love this. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected in love. I know that we have some experiences with people who quote biblical verses, and sometimes those people can be pretty heavy-handed, which is unfortunate. I'm really hoping that the triggers are minimized as I quote from this Gospel of John, because there's something really brilliant in this idea of love casting out fear.
Yeah.
That love and fear, they don't, it's an oil and vinegar kind of thing. Love and fear don't blend. And I want to ask.
I like that.
I
like that quote a lot because I spent so much time in my youth up into my 30s being so afraid of the being left behind and the evangelical stuff about going to hell and being the rapture and all that. And I realize now, so I was glad to read that this morning because it wasn't love at all that I was experiencing.
Right, when people were putting you into fear.
Yeah, just extreme fear.
Yeah. Just can we get a few nods of did you have a similar experience in your life? You don't have to talk about it, but you know what Emily's talking about, that there was some people outside you who seemingly intentionally scared the crap out of you. And it would seem like they should know better.
Most of the fundamentalist churches,
right?
Yeah.
They start when you walk in the door.
Is fear. And it's an awful thing to scare somebody. They in my household, they scare each other. Like they'll hide around corners and no one's allowed to do it to me. I hate it.
It doesn't feel like love, is it?
I don't want to be scared.
I used to quote to my patients that they would describe some horrible things that happened to them. And I'd say, if it doesn't feel like love, it's not.
Right. Right.
It's not.
And what casts out fear is love.
Yeah.
If you feel loved, if you have a hard decision to make and you don't feel loved, versus you have a hard decision to make and you feel loved, there's fear in the first situation.
Yeah.
The more loved you are, the less fear you have. Yes? No?
Yeah.
The more love you have, the less fear you have. The more love you have, the less fear you have. I'm not certain about this.
Amen. I find that
the more love. Avon, what you got?
Yeah, I'm struggling with the concept that the more love you have, the less fear, because I know that I am afraid for the people I love.
Yeah, no, that's totally.
With whom I have mutual love means
you have more to lose
when bad things are potentially happening to them.
Yeah. Okay. Let me try saying it. Let me differentiate out between what you're saying. Thank you for adding that in. The more people I love, the more afraid I am because now I have more to lose. Okay, I need someone who's really good at writing inverse relationships and function notation here. How do we make this work? The more love I feel, the more I feel loved. Maybe we'll say it that way. Perfect love casts out fear. Wait, I'm on two different thoughts. Hold on. Perfect love casts out fear. Let me go with that one. If I love perfectly, I will not be afraid. I can get behind that. I can't love perfectly, but as I approximate loving more perfectly, the less afraid I am. The more I love myself perfectly. Does that work? I can love you perfectly, or I can be loved perfectly. Oh, let me try it that way. Okay, ready? Let's try this. Etch a sketch your brains for a second. Okay. Perfect love casts out fear. There are two types of perfect love. There's when I feel perfectly loved, and there's when I love perfectly. One's coming towards me, one's going out from me. Let's see how this goes. If I love you perfectly, it's going to make me less scared. Yes, I'm going to have fear of losing you, but I'm going to be less scared of having lost time with you because I've been loving you as well as I can. For me to, if I feel loved, if I feel perfectly loved, I feel less fear. That seems to work. So it's both. There's no fear in love because perfect love casts out fear. And the funny thing about the perfect loves is there's only one person who can make it so that I feel the ability to love perfectly and the ability to be loved perfectly. There's only one person who's got control over that.
Me.
It's got to be me, right? Everyone got that same answer? Let's just compare notes. What'd you get for number 4? You got, yeah, love? Yeah, perfect love. That's what I got too. Yeah, that's good answers. Perfect love casts out fear.
Can I?
Yeah,
can
Michael.
I get a cis white thing, whatever?
Yeah.
Male. Sorry.
Go ahead, Michael.
No, I mean, so many people are saying interesting things, from, fear being immobilizing and then perfect love, and the extremes are, I mean, perfection, in the spiritual journey is pretty much not impossible, but it seems a goal as opposed to a state of being.
Correct.
I so love that. The concept of perfect love. I mean, the only thing I can garner from John, is guilt, sin, shame. And my question is therapeutically, because I think, my fear is, obsessive oftentimes. So I don't know how spirituality works for it completely. Anyway, to logically get a handle on it. But it seems to me that it increases the more angry I am. And the two is difficult to separate the two.
The more angry you are, the more fear you have. So
yeah, I think
I hear you. I
scare myself, okay. and that is addictive.
That's interesting. That fear is addictive. Let's go to Maria, then Carol.
Thank you. I want to read something out of the chat because this person doesn't have a mic.
Thank you.
But Janine wrote in that maybe what she can say is perfect love is support. The more supported you are, the easier that fear is to carry.
Amen. That love makes it easier to carry the fear. I love that very much.
No, she said is fear, support. Perfect love is support.
Correct.
So it's not perfection in the sense
that love is giving us support. All right. Let's go to Carol. Equal. Carol, sorry.
I think you have to think about what or who it is you're loving, because we know that if you love certain things that are mortal, they're going to die. But you don't have to fear that if what you love, in fact, is what's eternal in them.
Right.
And it seems that if you are focused on loving the transcendent, it really does remove fear, because you don't worry about them dying. You don't even worry about you dying.
Right? Perfect love. Maybe it's not about me loving me and me loving you. Maybe it's about loving what's eternal. I think, of course. Michael, we haven't heard from you. Go ahead.
I was just wondering about the whole bringing back in the idea of God being perfect love, but I think Carol has kind of come around to what I was thinking and feeling. It's kind of tuning into that thing that's bigger than us.
Yeah.
Whether however you want to view it, whether it's, you know, literally God or that eternal, right?
Yeah.
And knowing that we're in the grand scheme of things, you know, I might be afraid of this little thing, but you take bigger and bigger steps out, it just dissolves into this ether of perfectness.
It's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Michael. Jordan.
So I was thinking about about Dune. I put the quote in the chat. There's something from the book and the movie Dune about fear, but it also relates back to something you've talked about, Brian, which is sometimes when you try to suppress negative emotions, it can have the opposite effect, and sometimes you have to really acknowledge it and embrace it to go through the other side. Right?
And you're talking here about fear.
Talking about fear, yeah. And so just instead of trying to suppress it, just face it. What is it?
Yeah.
Let it go through you.
That was that quote. The greatest thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Right.
It's terrifying. Let's not be cavalier, but the only way out is through. Go ahead, Anne.
Also,
are you calling on me?
Yes, Anne.
Okay. I have had a number of friends who are Black women, mothers of sons. And I am really connecting with what Janine said about support being a perfect love, because what do I say to my friend who is a Black mother who has to start very, very young telling her Black son how to behave so he does not get shot and killed?
Mm-hmm.
And one of them said to me not that long ago, you know, he's now a college graduate, but I'm still terrified every time he picks up the car keys, walks out the door and says, "See ya, Mom."
Yeah.
And this is, they have to teach their sons and daughters, but especially the sons, to behave in a certain way, because there is so much hatred out in the world we live in.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
teaching them something that might make them afraid might also be saving their life. So that's why I am, you know, Rabbi, if a group of Nazis came to your door and said, "Come on, get your kids, time to go," do you have perfect love? If it happened, I'm a cis white woman with a disability.
I'm not quite sure how I would answer that question. I would have perfect love to say, to do, to. My love's not perfect on a good day. Go ahead, Carol. Help out.
I met a woman yesterday when we were discussing the book of Job, and she's a Black woman who the police put in a chokehold. I said, "How did you get out of it?" She said, "I had Jesus with me the whole time." That's what gives her support. And I think, I mean, this country the Civil War never ended. Okay, it's still going on. And there are still victims all the time. And all I can say is I'm so glad that she has a strong faith, because there she is joining with us to discuss the book of Job. But she is also telling us that we are part of the problem. We have not been loud enough We can't be silent when this kind of crap is happening in this country.
Correct. Correct. And fear, it's like every 4 years we have an extra fear season with elections. And
a fear season, I love it.
It's awful. The fear that's coming up right now, and Ron sent an article that I got to read about that the fear is what's motivating everything. That fear brings about hate. That we fear what they will do to us, so we preemptively have to do this to them. The fear is leading to such hatred.
So,
go ahead, Michael, and then we're gonna.
Sorry to keep repeating this, but I think we have to give the option that the chicken and the egg. The root may be fear and anger, the consequences, opposed to fear creating. It's an interesting way to turn it.
Right. Did the hate bring about the fear? Did the fear bring about the hate?
Does it in ourselves too?
I would say if I take out my prescription pad, I'm going to prescribe the same things. If it's fear or if it's hate first, there's going to be compassion and love. That's all I got. How else to deal with fear and hate? So let me there's the quote that's on the bottom of the screen here next to me. It says, "The whole world is a very narrow bridge. Do not..." The center of which
Don't build your house on it.
Michael and I got into such a etymological discussion about the quote that I done screwed it up horribly. It says the whole world is a narrow bridge. Just don't listen to what's on the page. Listen to what I'm saying. This is Nachman Abrasov said the whole world is a very, very narrow bridge. What's important is not to add fear.
That's not what he said.
So yes, Carol, it is. We looked it up. So the song says what's important is not to fear. But if you look at that was the deep dive I did with Michael. I don't have the. Oh, here it is. It was in
the Hebrew word ikar.
Yeah, it was in Likudei Mehoran 1148. That it's not that you shouldn't ever be frightened. It's that you shouldn't. It's a reflexive form of the verb to frighten. That you shouldn't add to your own fear.
Fear yourself.
You shouldn't.
But what's interesting is the one word. There's a word in Hebrew that comes before "do not fear." Is the word ikar, which means the essential practices. It's essential. The word it's essential.
Okay, so
to not be afraid, not to make yourself afraid.
Right, not to make yourself afraid. All the world is a very, very narrow bridge. What is the essence of life? The most important thing is not to add to your own fear.
Exactly. I think that gets close to it.
So, question. Oh, I know the answer. The answer is going to be everyone. How many of you add to your own fear from time to time?
Yeah.
Right, that's it might as well be how many of you have hands. It's this. We all add to a little bit of fear. I'm going to do an opposite of that. We're going to take a moment. I have a candle here. I'm going to light it in honor. Religion Outside the Box lost a friend of ours, Tom. And Tom's beloved and I thought it might be nice to light a candle.
Yeah.
And for us, just take a moment to think about life and to take a moment to not be afraid. And I'm going to do something that I never do on this Zoom call, on this service. I'm going to sing a song in Hebrew. And it's this prayer from Nachman of Bratslav. The words are slightly not exactly as Michael and I told you that the words really are, but it's the lyrics to the song, so it's a little bit off. It goes like this. And I'm gonna fold into this. Let me just sing the song. It goes like this. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, kol ha'olam kulo gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod, gesher tsar meod. All the world's a very narrow bridge, very narrow bridge, a very narrow bridge. What's important? Not to fear. What's important? Not to add fear. What's important? Not to add any fear, my love. Yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Let's roll that right into a minute of time for those on our light and love list. Maria, if you would be so kind as to read those for us.
These, excuse me, these are the names for this week. Rita S., Harold and Connie's nephew, Mary Ellen, Mary Wolf, Christina Roth, Eloise, Kim Haslinger, Sarah C., John, Chris H., Beverly Kennedy and Roger M., the Cook family, Lauren, Lena Rune Abbas, the Joyce Center School in Kenya, Lori and Danny, Norman, R. Lyman, Bill, Karen, Sandy, Liz Feldman, Azara Ben Isaac, Lori, Linda, Phil, Cleo, Hillary, Gretchen, Carol, Karen, Francis, Rob B., Karen and Derek, Bill, Carla, Pat, Joe, Carrie and Pat and family, Stephanie, Jennifer Dobbs, Jim, Doug. If there is another person in our community we can offer light and love to, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list in the clubhouse. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Let's take a minute to think on them. Oh, I'm going to interrupt. Sorry, I'm allowed to though, because, hey, I'm going to. I'm going to ask when we do that minute, put yourself in gallery view and just look at the people around you as much as you can make eye contact on a Zoom. Take a minute in honor of all those who are not with us or in needing of healing to really connect with each other. Let's try a minute starting now. Okay. I have a few announcements to make today. First off, as always, it is okay not to be okay. It's okay to not be okay. Sometimes we have a hard time, and that is perfectly acceptable. That's how life is. It's okay not to be okay. Please, if you are... There I am. If you want to stick around after the service, we're going to break into smaller groups, which are not recorded. So if you'd like to join for that, please stick around. Stick around for Shekinah group or the Stone Soup group. Find out more information about the clubhouse. That's coming up in about 10 minutes. Our friend James, my friend James, who I met James, he's in prison for a very long time. I met him through my Buddhist teacher. James got transferred to a erstwhile Supermax facility. It is no longer Supermax, but as he says, the architecture is built to separate everyone. He is starting up some self-help groups and selling candy bars in the prison as a way of funding the works that he's doing. If you would like to be, yes, I'm going for this joke, one of his sugar daddies, we're taking contributions to help buy him about $300 worth of candy bars. In other news, donations help ROTB to run. If you are a regular donor to Religion Outside the Box, you are appreciated for that. I appreciate you. If you're not a donor, I also appreciate you. Thank you for coming and telling people about Religion Outside the Box. Tomorrow is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Also, hey, folks, it's a really hard day because for a lot of people, the hallmark movie of Mother's Day and their lived experience of what a mother is, well, they're different. And if you're having a hard time on Mother's Day, know that you're not alone. A lot of people are. It's a rough one. Working on the Religion Outside the Box Clubhouse, that's coming along very well. Thank you to Anne. We're going to be needing some more beta testers soon. So if you think you might want to be a beta tester of the online forum, please send an email or a chat to me, and I will see how you can help make this thing happen. Okay. I was thinking about the light and love thing that we do, and I was thinking that always has a bit of a solemnity to it. And I was wondering, well, what's the opposite end of that balance beam? And I thought, well, because I want to uplift the people who are having a hard time. Of course, we want to do that. But I thought, well, why can't we also uplift people who are just, gosh darn, I'm proud of myself this week because I did this thing. And you know what? It's important to know that I did this thing. So I thought I'd take a moment and say, hey, is there something this is a big ask. Let me be honest about that. There's a big ask to ask a group of adults to hear you say, I'm proud of myself. I did a thing. I don't know why it shouldn't be an embarrassing thing to do, but I'm wondering if there's someone out there who's got a 3 to 5 sentence. Here's something that I did in the last week or so that I'm proud of, and I just want to share.
I'll do it. I applied for grad school.
Nicely done.
Thank
There's some
you.
thumbs up there. That's wonderful. Thanks, Avon. And thanks for getting the ball running. Someone else? Something you did in the last week? You set a boundary. Hey, did you set a boundary last week and that was hard to do and you're proud of yourself?
I gave Rita a haircut.
Okay.
Not me.
No, not you.
So
I survived learning a new charting system at the hospital where I work, and there's a million buttons and a million different things to learn, and I have to do everything I used to do automatically, consciously now. But I survived.
Yeah. And you're proud of yourself.
I can say that, sure.
I love that. This is back at the beginning of the service, the beginning of this hour together. Oh my God, look at that. It's all going to loop back. Weird. I said, on the one hand, can you name the things you're proud of? And on the other hand, how many things are you afraid of currently? And I'm going to ask us in this upcoming week, can you find a way of doing a little bit more perfect love? Diminish a little bit more of that fear? Find something to be proud of yourself for? I'll go. At my high school reunion last week, I decided I wasn't going to do much bullshit fluff, knee level, shallow conversations. Like, oh, I have this many kids and I'm living here. And I thought, I want to just have a real conversation with people. And I said some things to them that were real. And I said, you don't have to respond back. But if you want to, like, we haven't seen each other in 35 years. It's fine if you don't want to tell me. But people were open and honest. And I was really proud of myself for being vulnerable first.
I had, my husband had a brief period of lucidity, and I decided quickly, and I grabbed a piece of paper and I wrote down everything he said, because I doubt that there will be many times like that.
Oh,
Marvelous.
Thank you for sharing that, Emily. Taking in the good moments. Yeah, Rita?
I just wanted to say that I just put in the chat the link to the Stone Soup gathering at 11. And if you're interested and available, come check it out, please.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that
Rita, I don't see it in the chat.
Oh, I thought I did.
Can you do it again?
Oh, I see what I didn't do. Now you'll see it.
There we go. Thank you.
I forgot to hit the little.
Wonderful.
Sorry about that.
I want to tell you one other thing that I'm proud of. And Emmett we have a thing, it's called a soda stream. It's where you can carbonate your own seltzer water. We use it all the time. We have 4 different seltzer bottles around the house that we put water in, go fuff, 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 fuff. You're supposed to fuff it 3 to 4 fuffs, depending on how strong you want the water. And I'll tell you what I didn't do this last week and I'm proud of, is I didn't correct Emmett on how goddamn wrong he was using the soda machine.
Good for you.
He must have done 7 fuffs at one time. And then he left the goddamn water bottles out without filling them back up and putting them in the fridge, which means that I had to do that the next time. And I didn't correct him for that either.
Oh, good.
It was really hard.
Been there, done that.
It was really hard to not say, what are you doing? Doesn't get 7 fuffs, it gets 3. Why can't you put the water bottles back in the fridge so everyone gets cold water, not just you? It took a lot of work to not say anything. There's a quote from St. Augustine. He said, Si iliu este cor non ego. If this one or that one can do it, why can't I? We have homework for next week. See if you can not correct somebody. Once. Just once. Just one time. That's all.
Thank goodness.
See if you can.
You're sure not twice?
Well, just not to correct them one time.
Okay.
Every time.
Well,
that's impossible. All right. Try not to correct someone. See how that goes. And let's fold that back in, and I'm going to summarize us here with that quote from John, which is that perfect love casts out fear. Perfect love is acceptance. I don't know how that fits in the quote from John. I really thought it did, but maybe it doesn't. That's all right. Here's what I can sum it this way. I got a different ending for this story. I'm not scared that this service ended shitty. I'm not scared that this service ended a little less all tied up in a bow. Well, first of all, it didn't, and it was pretty good. So I'm going to just say that. And I'm going to look at your faces like the greedy person I am and take in all that love. But here's the thing, folks. Yeah, thank you. You all help me not to be afraid. It's really wonderful. And I hope when you look out at other people today, you know that they love you too. Okay. Might or might not have all tied up together. That's fine. I thank you all for joining me for just about an hour today. We're going to stick around for small groups. Let me first put everyone on the screen so we can say goodbye to our friends who are joining us from a distance. Shabbat Shalom.
And I'll add one. And if you are on a tablet and want to go to a room, I can send you a little note. Like Betsy, which room would you like to go to?
Please.
Okay. Oops, where'd you go? People are moving, Betsy, and it moves you. Good grief.
Hello.
Nice. I just wanted to offer, I very quickly looked up a different translation of the Bible. And the particular verse, 1 John 4:18, gets written in this version, there is no room in love for fear. Well-formed love banishes fear, since fear is crippling. A fearful life, fear of death, fear of judgment, is one not yet fully formed in love.
Can you read that again, John? I like that.
There is no room in love for fear.
That's the opposite of there's no room in love for fear. Okay.
Right. Well-formed love banishes fear. Since fear is crippling, a fearful life, i.e. fear of death, fear of judgment, is one not yet fully formed in love.
It's a good thought.
That's kind of, that's beautiful. It's a little like the definition of panentheism as opposed to pantheism. That I think pantheism says the whole world is God. I think something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And panentheism is that the world is in God. Not that God is in the world, but the world is in God. So it's an interesting difference, isn't it? And that John quote of guilt, the things and whatever else causes fear, anger, and love is not. Yeah, no, it's a life struggle, isn't it? I don't know.
Sorry, I'm in a little bit of a fog as my recording is not showing itself.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So, oh, that's why I didn't hit finish.